Hey, story seekers. On today's episode of For Love of Memoir, Mr. Jim Mazziotti joins the conversation to talk about his deeply personal story behind his book, The Challenge: How 144 Letters Changed My Life, the Life of My Son, and Will Change Your Life Too. With heartfelt clarity, Jim reflects on how the letters written during his son's time at the Youth Challenge Academy in Oregon sparked transformation, reconciliation, and renewed purpose. More than a memoir, Jim's mission is to amplify awareness of the National Guard Youth Challenge program, a life changing initiative that rescues at risk youth from the brink and gives them the tools to reclaim their identity and future. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Jim Mazziotti. Hi, Jim. Thanks for joining me.
And I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this conversation. Where are you calling in from today?
I'm in the Dallas, Texas metroplex. I'm actually in a town called McKinney,
Okay. McKinney,
north of
Texas.
Dallas, about 35 minutes. I like to keep it that way because I'm not a big city kid.
Yeah.
And, there's about 8 million people in the metroplex. It's way too many for me.
A
So
lot.
I'm north and trying to stay out of all the craziness of the
Stay on the
Dallas area.
outskirts. Keep it
Yeah,
convenient, but away from all the chaos, right? I get it.
absolutely.
I hear
Yeah.
you. We're in Nashville. This is the exact same way.
I was just in Nashville a week ago, so I love the city and it's a great place.
Yeah, I love the city and I love to get out of it.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it.
So, we're here today to talk about your memoir, The Challenge:
Hmm.
How 144 Letters Changed My Life, the life of my son, and it will change your life too. So, for anybody who hasn't heard about your book, can you just kind of key us in on what it's about?
Yeah. Well, the book was not written. There wasn't an intent to write the book. The book is based on letters that I wrote to my son during his stay at a place called the Oregon Youth Challenge. There's actually 40 youth challenges around the United States, and he was just at one of them in Oregon. And he went to this school because he didn't adapt to regular school, to high school. We couldn't find the help that we thought that the school district might offer as much as we tried, and maybe as much as they tried. And we found this alternative school. And while he was there, and it's a residential school, so he left home for 5.5 months and was in this facility for 5.5 months. We knew we would only see him a couple times in that 5.5 month period, but I promised him that I'm not going to forget you, and I don't want you to forget us. We're going to be with you every day. And I made a promise to him that I would write to him every day. Because at that time, at the Oregon Youth Challenge, the students there weren't allowed to get on the internet. They couldn't talk on the phone. It's a very controlled environment. And so the only way we could communicate was by letters. Imagine at this school, there's no phones, there's no televisions. They do have newspapers that they can see what's going on in the world, and they talk a little bit about that, but they can't watch anything on television, their favorite sports teams. So in this time, it came out that the number of days he was there was 156. I wrote 144 letters. And the only time I didn't write is when I actually saw him that particular day because he was home on a visit. And so the letters were written with the intent to connect us. And the funny thing, Aaron, is we never had disagreements, shouting matches, any of that. He just could not go to school, to a regular school, and adapt with the type of learning they did there. And so the letters help connect us for that time period. And then what I found, Aaron, is that while I'm writing the letters, I'm thinking, not only is this going to help us connect, but I tried to include in the letters life lessons
Hmm.
that I had learned. I'm part of the John Maxwell team, and lessons that I learned by being a coach and a trainer and a business person. And I thought these letters really not only are for us, but they can connect in many other ways with other people. So it started out with just between my son and I and grew to much more than that.
Mm. I love that and bless you for it. I feel like there's so many kids in our public school system that they're not cut out for it,
They
whether
aren't. Yeah.
right, wrong, or indifferent. It just is what it is. It feels like it's
Mhm.
very much a cookie cutter system, and a lot of kids just kind of end up falling through the cracks as a result of it.
Yeah, they do. And, the school where he went, the U Challenge, has a system and is able to help those kids. And it's called the School of Second Chances because a lot of these kids have been thrown out, have been considered as losers, not being able to achieve anything, and they have to go in willingly. They can't be court ordered to this school.
Sure.
So, first of all, they have to they have to know that there's a place for them. Their parents need to know that there's a place for them, and they have to willingly go to the school, which is very tough. It is not an easy place. It's a quasi-military school.
Yeah.
Later on, my son, after the school, went into the Marine Corps. And I called him after he was through basic training in the Marine Corps. And I said to him, actually, it was before then. He got a phone call early on, and I said, how is basic training in the Marine Corps? Is it as tough as they say it is?" And he said, "Dad, having gone through the U Challenge, it was a piece of cake because I've already gone through something like that. And so it helped build my character enough to have the confidence that I needed when I have a drill sergeant shouting in my face. I know that they're only trying to motivate us and it's not personal." And so while other young men, perhaps women, would break down at that, I had gone through this with the youth challenge. And so it's a place that opens the door to the youth that are between 15 and 18 years old, and actually helps build them up with hard love. It's a hard love place.
Life is a hard place, right? So
Yeah,
if we can
yeah,
if we can give our kids a leading start when it comes to just how to deal with everyday adversity, I think that it's a blessing that you're able
yeah,
to do that. I had never heard
yeah.
of the Oregon Youth Challenge. You said it's in 40 different states.
Yeah, there's actually 39 states, 40 different challenges, and that was the purpose of writing the book when I wrote it, was to get the message out. Because here's how I found out about the U Challenge, Aaron, and it's almost hard to believe. We were living in Bend, Oregon, a beautiful place, and having difficulty in the school, and we thought there was nothing left for him, that he was going to drop out of school. And this all happened, the letters, the book, the U Challenge, all happened when we had a conversation with him, a tough conversation, that you can't do this anymore. You're going to have to make choices, but there's a place for you to go. But here's how I found out about it. One particular night when he came home, I don't know, 2 o'clock in the morning, his curfew was 10. He came walking in. Um, there was no visible use of drugs and alcohol ever. But he came in and we were there as a family, and told him about the U Challenge, and told him that we had to do something. I didn't tell him about the U Challenge that day. The next morning, after we had our meeting that we got to do something, we don't know what to do, but we got to do something. I walked into my office and my secretary met me at the front desk and said, "Good Lord, you look awful, Jim. What the heck is going on?" And I said, "Well, Carly, I haven't slept all night. We had a terrible night with Tony, and we just don't know what to do."
Mhm.
And she said, "Well, I've kind of been mum about this because it's not my business, but there might be hope for him." I said, well, I'm willing to listen to Hope. And
Lawyers,
she,
right.
yeah. And she said, there is a school, and the school is 8 miles away from us. The school was in our own backyard. It's the only youth challenge in the state of Oregon. It happens to be in Bend, Oregon. And she said, it's called the Oregon Youth Challenge. I said,
Yeah.
I've never heard of this. No one's told us of this place. So I got in my car. I said, cancel all my appointments for the day. I'm going out there. And I drove out to the Youth Challenge, um, got in, talked to the director of the Youth Challenge, told her the issue. I said, he hates school. He won't do the assignments he's asked to do in school. And he's just, I don't know what to do. And she said, come with me. So I walked with her and we looked into the drill floor. It's kind of like a gymnasium floor. And there was a young student on his hands and knees cleaning up water from in a bucket. So there was a pool of water and a bucket next to him, and he was taking a sponge, cleaning up the water, and putting it back in the bucket. And I said, well, what's going on with him? She said, well, he decided he didn't want to do what we asked him to do. And so as a result, this is what he's going to be doing until he is willing to do what we ask. And what we ask is nothing that's punishing outside of our school, but it's the expectations. We expect them to excel and do well here. And he decided today that he didn't want to do his assignment. And so as a result, we give him a different assignment to do. And the assignment is to clean up his mess. And so I said to her, I said, I can't even believe this. I said, I don't know if I can put my son in a place that has such strict rules. And she says, it's your choice. Students that come here can leave anytime. We don't lock anybody in. But what we do find is that they do follow the rules because they're rewarded when they do well. And I said, well, I don't know that I have another choice. I made application. He was accepted. And the rest is in the book. It changed everything for us. And there is no exaggeration that it changed my life, his life, and it has the ability to change the life of anybody that goes to that place or to the 39 that we have throughout the country.
I can imagine. So, what made you decide to take to memoir to share this experience about your family?
Yeah. Well, what got me to this point was after I'd written all these letters, um, uh, I was done. Tony had graduated from the school. I had written 144 letters. I learned a lot from it. I took a lot of what was in the letters and I actually taught the agents in my real estate company many of those things that were in the letters that had to do with leadership, that had to do with doing the right thing and so forth. But quite accidentally, after he left, he was done with school, successfully graduated. He actually, Aaron, I think I share this in a book, but when he was at his high school, he had a 1.6 grade point average. That's how bad it was. When he graduated from the U Challenge, he had recovered 10 credit hours because he worked very hard and had a 3.6 grade point average.
Wow.
And it had nothing to do with intelligence. It had to do with having the guidelines and the basis to succeed. So he came home, was successful, decided to go into the Marine Corps, which I wasn't excited about. But he said, I think I need the discipline.
Mhm.
I think I can take the discipline. So I'm going. So he left. And it was one of those days after he left that I wandered up to his room. And that's when I discovered the letters that I had written to him, the letters he had written to me all over again. and letters that were sent to him by other people who supported him. And so, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to read you that part of the book where I rediscovered the letters, if I
I
can.
would love that. I would love it. Please do.
Let me grab them here and read them to you. Okay, this is in the preface of the book, and um, I have a quote at the top of each chapter. This particular quote for this part of the book says, "Our dreams are made of real things, like a shoebox full of photographs." And that's a quote from Jack Johnson, who's an American musician.
Mm.
So here's what I wrote in the book. I wandered up to his room to sit and reminisce. We had kept Tony's room intact while he was away. Team pictures, blue ribbons, trophies, certificates, posters, and multitudinous mementos covered the walls of his room. As I sat on his bed, I wondered how Leanne and I might approach his room in the coming weeks. I mean, he would be gone from home for a long time. Of course, a single day seems a long time to be away from him. You know the feeling, right? As I took it all in, I tried to remember when and where the pictures had been taken and his prize trophies won. I realized I didn't have clear memories of many of the photos or friends in the photographs. Time changes our memory, surely, but it appeared from the evidence before me that much of his life had passed by without my taking notice. The human element of taking things for granted, I guess. I approached his closet. It contained those things you might expect to find, arranged as only a teenage boy would care to have it. There were clothes on hangers. Good job, Tony. There were clothes stuffed on shelves, the floor and behind storage bins containing baseball cards and old toys that had long ago been retired. I reached into a box and grabbed one of the hundreds of Matchbox die-cast cars. I remembered when he was just a little boy how I would bring home a new car for him that I would purchase at the Erdl Toy Factory store in Dyersville, Iowa, or just about any toy store I could find when I was on the road selling musical instruments for our family music business. He would be waiting for me at the door when I arrived home, and as I sat on the edge of his bed, I could visualize his beautiful little face, a smile from ear to ear, and his high pitched voice. And then on the top shelf, all the way to the right side, and below some caps and a baseball glove, were the letters, our letters. The letters I had written to Tony were all placed neatly in a shoebox. It was a typical shoebox, I guess. It had a dark gray lid, while the sides and bottom were a lighter gray, maybe like the gray you would see on a cool and crisp rainy day. Most of the letters were still in their original envelopes. I recognized some of the envelopes, and I remember specifically writing on the outside of some of them, something I did often, as if I had to get one more word in before placing the letters in the mailbox. Looking at my letters reminded me of how deeply sad I was while writing so many of them. I could feel the sadness return as I ran my fingers over each one, attentively looking for clues that might remind me of the day I wrote the letters and the sadness that was part of almost every day that Tony was away. With the letters I had written with Tony were letters and cards he had received from others as well. I never knew, or perhaps I had just forgotten, that so many people had been part of the journey with Tony. All in all, there were more than 225 cards or letters that came home with Tony and that he placed in the old shoebox. For thousands of years, letters have served as a primary connection between people. I've enjoyed reading published letters that now provide us with historic perspective and relevance to the way people have communicated with each other for centuries. The letters written by Dwight Eisenhower to his wife are some of my favorite beautifully written letters. Now, the letters written from me to Tony perhaps compared not to those written by Dwight Eisenhower to his wife Mamie in 1945 while fighting on the front lines during World War II, where one letter said, possibly, I've been remiss about writing the past 2 weeks, although I've sent 2 or 3 teletypes. From my papers, you will understand that we have been under some stress, and you'll understand that it's been hard to sit down and to compose thoughts applicable to a letter to one's best only girl. Or perhaps like one written and undated from Marilyn Monroe to her famed acting teacher Lee Strasberg, in which she sadly exclaimed, my will is weak, but I can't stand anything. I sound crazy, but I think I'm going crazy. Nor do our letters compare to any of the more than 250 letters and documents that were auctioned off by an anonymous collector in April of 2013 at the Douglas Elliman Madison Avenue Art Gallery. However, the letters written to me, to Tony, and those written from him to me were special letters indeed. They weren't just special, they were our letters. They will always be our letters. Letters that I am convinced changed our lives and might change your life too. So that's,
Oh, so heartfelt and beautifully read. Thank you, Jim.
you're
Thank you for
welcome.
that.
You're welcome.
So, as you were going through those letters, I imagine there were some that were hard to read.
Many of them were hard to read. And, there's some of them where I don't even remember writing them. I wrote them at all times when I was happy, when I was sad, at work, when I was just about anywhere. One thing that I point out in the book that I put a kind of a pencil and a clock to this whole thing, and I figure that during the 5.5 months while he was away at the school, that I spent about 300 hours of that 5.5 months, which equates to about 7.5 40-hour weeks.
Wow.
So much of my time, as you can see, I was distracted from my work, but there was really nothing else in my life other than trying to save my company because at the same time, this was of the market crash of that from 2007 to 2012, where the economy and real estate was failing. Things were falling through the cracks. People were having to leave their homes. The market was in disarray. And not only was my business failing, but his life had been failing as well. So at the same time, I'm managing 2 different failures and how can I address his? How can I address mine? And how can I best do that? So, yeah, many of the letters that are hard to read, and I can tell you some of those letters didn't make it in the book. The book was less about placing every letter in the book. It was more about placing those letters of significance or those words of significance that I believe would touch others and speak to others about the bond that we had. Some people have asked me, well, we thought we were going to be able to read all the letters and they're not in there. And I've told them they'll never be in there. I would never disclose. They were very private. They were our letters. But yeah, they were difficult to write, and some were a joy. Being able to tell him things that we were doing back home that included his brother and his sister, uh, and making sure we weren't leaving him out. He might have not
Hmm.
been there with us when we did those things, but I
We're
wanted to
thinking
make
of
sure
him.
we knew that
Yeah.
he was with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine that was probably pretty therapeutic, pretty cathartic to be able to write your feelings while you were not only just, I mean, the stress of worrying about your child is enough for any human being to endure, but to have your business and your livelihood stacked on top of that, I'm sure it was all probably pretty therapeutic for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Really?
it was really I was teaching myself along the way. I was pulling out everything that I could pull out of things that would help him, and then realized these same things can help the agents in my company that are struggling, who are
Mm.
trying to feed their families. I had, my office in Bend, Oregon was a franchise office that I opened in 2006. I had 30 agents in the company that I was managing, working with, and I had to find a way to get through my problems and to help them.
And
But
they were also struggling. They were also in crisis because of the
yeah,
crash, right?
yeah,
Wow. Isn't it amazing how sometimes we forget, and definitely our children forget, that as parents, we're growing. We're growing every moment that we're raising them and helping them. We're all still growing. It's all still our first time, at least that we remember on this planet, right? And I
yeah.
think it's really easy to lose sight of that. So you say that I have so many questions, but you say that it changed your life, and it sounds like you deployed this in your office with your realtors. Tell me a little bit about that. How did that go? What kind of changes did that was that a catalyst for?
Yeah, well, I think what it did in my office was to demonstrate to them that I wasn't going to leave my role as a leader,
Hmm.
that I needed to lead at that time and I needed to find ways to lead him. And everybody in my office knew what I was going through. Very, very close-knit office, a small office comparatively to some big real estate office that have 150, 200, 500 agents. Mine was just very small, so everybody knew what I was going through, but it gave me the ability to build lessons to help them be more productive, and I think it did help. Those things that I would pull, from John Maxwell or other teachers, John Gordon,
Hmm.
many of those teachers, people that are my mentors, help build them, and I think they saw that and recognized it. But Aaron, what happened was more than my office. First of all, it had to do with writing letters to my son, then having the letters, being able to review all the letters, finding them in the shoebox, and then deciding, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with them? So when I read those letters, I thought, well, how can I tell this story in more than just a book? I mean, can I publish it and can I share some of the things that I went through? And then how can I get this book in the hands of people who need to read it? That was my next thought. Uh, how can I do it? And so I wrote I wrote the book, and I don't even remember this. This isn't in the book, but I had sent a copy of the manuscript before it was even gone through and edited to the president of the National Guard Youth Challenge in Washington, D.C., because my next mission was to see if they could help me tell their story to more people about my story. So I sent the manuscript to her, and I don't even remember doing it, Aaron. Honest to gosh, I don't remember. I can't even believe I would have, because I didn't share the unedited manuscript with anybody. It's not good. I mean, there's mistakes, misspellings. It's bad, right? But I guess I sent it to her because I got a phone call. And actually, this is the strangest thing. I was in Washington, D.C. for an exit convention of, our real estate company. And I got a call from her while I was in Washington, D.C. And remember, she happens to be in Washington, D.C. She had no idea that I was in Washington, D.C. And she said, Jim, I read your manuscript and I think we need to talk. And I said, my manuscript, how have you read my manuscript? And she said, you sent it to me. Aaron, I don't remember doing it. So I met with her and she said, I want you to consider being on the board of the National Guard Youth Challenge here in Washington, D.C. Would you do that? because we think you need to tell your story,
Yeah.
and we want to help you tell that story if we can. Well, unfortunately, Aaron, COVID hit. And when COVID hit, that again changed even more. It was COVID, it was the crisis. There's all kinds of things that happened, but COVID kind of interrupted things, and I haven't been able to tell the story the way I really want to tell it and to publicize the book that I really want to do. So that effort, believe it or not, is actually beginning now. My goal is to talk to as many people as I can because my real estate role has changed. I'm 71. I don't have to work in the real estate business anymore. I'm not coaching anymore. And I want to be able to take this book to more people and tell the story of the U Challenge and how it can help kids.
Oh, wow. What a champion. What a champion for the cause. How has this process impacted how you show up in other relationships in your life?
Mm. Well, I think it's built our family, obviously, and we're not shy on sharing the love we have for one another.
Mm.
Uh, and I think we do it in a way that it needs to be done and should be done. But Aaron, I also don't hesitate to share the love I have for friends and people that are around me. And I know I take some people by surprise at times when I might be on a call with them, like we're on today, and I end the conversation by "I love you,"
Mm.
and it comes as a surprise to so many people because we don't share it, and so
Mm.
I'm quite comfortable sharing it, and I think um, the way that that has happened has helped me with relationships because I let people know how much I care for them. And I want to help as many people as I can for the limited things that I'm able to do. You know,
Mm.
I wear a lot of hats. I'm not particularly great at anything, but I want to reach out to as many people as I can to help them and show the love I have for them and for the things that I believe in.
It sounds so simple, but our society has made showing our emotions so challenging for some reason.
Yeah,
Right? For
yeah,
some.
and look, I still have challenges with it. There's no doubt about it, but I try hard. And I got to tell you, one of the fun things for me is when I will end a conversation with somebody and tell them I love them. Uh, Looking at their face is
Mm.
kind of an interesting thing because they're not expecting it. Some expect it now,
Yeah.
um, and will return the remark. But a lot of people, it's like, "Eh, I- thanks. It's different. And I love doing it to people
Let's
to let them.
normalize that. Let's normalize loving everyone.
Yeah, yeah,
I agree with that.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
So I would never ask you to speak on his behalf, but I'm interested to know if you have talked to Tony, what kind of insight has he given you on how the letters impacted him?
yeah. Well, they had to have impact, um, because he cherished them while he was at the school. He cherished every letter that he received from me, and I know he
Mm.
did. One
Mm.
of the things at his school was they have mail call every day, just like you would if you were in the military and you would go to the barracks and they would come in with all the letters and they'd call out the name of, the soldier or the Marine, and it was mail call. And so he got a letter every single day from me. And the funny thing is that he got so many letters from me that his superior, who would hand out the letters, would get tired of handing him letters every day. One of the sad things is a lot of the kids didn't receive a letter every day. Some of them didn't receive a letter very often. And there are many that never, ever received a letter. But he received one every day. And when he would get them, his what are called cadres, his superior, would call out his name and he'd hold the letter up. And he said, Mazziotti, you have another letter from your dad today. So this letter is heavy. Aaron, I would pack the letters with all kinds of things. I would pack them with newspaper articles from his high school so he could see what was going on with the teams that he was once on. I would put things in from the newspaper that had to do with football games that he could not watch. So they were thick. And then I had, as I mentioned, I would write on the outside at times. I'd get done with the letter and I'd lick the envelope and I'd get ready to take it. And I go, God, there's something else I really wanted to say. So I'd write it on the outside. And at more than one particular time, the cadre would say, Mazziotti, you got another letter from your dad. So as punishment for making me have to lift this heavy envelope, I want you to give me 20 right now. Get down and do 20 push-ups. And so as punishment, good-hearted punishment, my
Sure.
son, my son had to do a lot of push-ups because he got so
He
many
was fit.
letters. Yeah.
He was
But
fit.
I think it's had a lasting effect for who he has become as a man, the kind of strength that he gained going through this, the consistency he has in what he starts, what he finishes, a
Mm.
definite transformation in his life that made him more confident in himself. And it does that of all the cadets that go there who feel they can't do it, but they find out that they really can do it, and they're better than they ever thought. So it's long lasting. The letters, the challenge, his job, the Marine Corps, it all has built him into a just a great man and even more importantly, a wonderful father. And
Mm.
it's beautiful to see.
Hmm.
And so I'm hoping that what was shared in some of those letters is something that he's going to be able to share with his children as well. And I think he will. I think it will be positive all the way around for all of us.
Yeah, what an incredible heirloom to be able to pass down from generation to generation to just like the love of a parent. It's it's never ending. When they say
Yeah.
unconditional, that's what they're talking about. I will reach you somehow, some way, even if
Hmm.
it's through letters, but I will reach you. And I imagine that he probably came out of that experience with even a more renewed sense of knowing that his dad had his back, that his family
Yeah.
had his back, you know, because
Yeah.
I'm sure he noticed all those kids that didn't get letters, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And he noticed before then, he noticed when I was at his ball games and when I was at all the events that he, was part of. And even did it with my baby, my youngest son. And of course, there's a lot of things I changed and learned from Tony, who's, 6 years older than the baby of the family. And so with my other son, he played college football, he played high school football, and one thing that I made a resolution is that I'd never miss one, and I never did. I made all of them, and so I know my kids and Tony knew that I would have his back, uh, and I think this demonstrated it as about as well as I could hope to have demonstrated to him how much I care for him, loved him, and would do just about anything to help him in his life.
Yeah, that's all it's about. How hard was it to take such a personal story and turn it into a narrative for the public to see?
Yeah. Well, when I wrote the letters, it wasn't going to be shared with anybody. So I was very vulnerable in the letters. And when I decided to write the book, I thought that I needed to be honest, that I needed to be vulnerable. That was
Mm-hmm.
hard.
Mm-hmm.
The admission that there's the things that I knew that I did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. And putting it out before everyone who knows you, everyone that reads it. But I think, the comments I had from people is the vulnerability was honest. It was the truth. And I think people knew that my sharing my vulnerability was only to help other people, was to show that this big 250 pound, 6 foot one man isn't this big, old, mean person, that I'm vulnerable and that I feel like people that are a third of my size. So the vulnerability was hard. The honesty was hard, but I decided I'm going to do it because otherwise I'm a fraud,
Mhm.
right? And I'm not going to be a fraud. I'm going to tell it the way it is. And if some people think badly about me, or that's okay,
Let
as
them.
long as, yeah, yeah, right. Uh, so I wouldn't say I struggled with it. I just addressed it. I
Hmm.
just addressed with vulnerability.
Mm. Did you find that you had to come back to the page time and time again to kind of re-sort out what you said and become more honest, or were you able to just be vulnerable from the start?
I think I think I was vulnerable from the start.
Hmm.
I really do, because as I was writing it, and each page that I would write, I would always, be thinking, how can I write this better? How can I better explain how I feel? Well,
Hmm.
I couldn't explain how I felt unless I told the truth. I guess I could have grabbed somebody else's book and and see what they said, but this was from it's just me. It's just from the heart.
That is why I love memoir, and I think a memoir well written is vulnerable, and that is why it's its own genre on Kindle and on Amazon and on
Yeah, yeah,
Audible, right? It's its own genre, and it's because we see ourselves in other people. And the more vulnerable we are as authors, the more people are going to see that reflected back. So
yeah,
you're actually fulfilling your mission of being able to reach people out there. So
yeah. And Aaron,
kudos.
when I published the book, I was, trying to decide, well, what category is this going to go under,
Mm,
right? What it could be, self-help, business, because part of this is business, um, and memoir was really the only logical choice. Maybe not the choice that would reach as many people as I wanted to reach. I don't know how many people go to that section in a bookstore or a library, but I knew a lot of people would go to the business section, or the self-help section. But it is a memoir,
it
and
is.
I needed to make sure that that's how I represented
Right.
what it is.
Right. And who's to say you can't take the premise of this and all of the things that you learn from it and turn it into something business or something self-help. But at the end of the day,
Hmm.
it's a personal story. And
Hmm.
that's really what resonates with people. It
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Were there any parts that you struggled to include?
I don't know if there were. One of the things that I shared was my faith.
Mm. Mm.
Very honestly, one of the things I shared was a prayer that I wrote the day that he went, uh, the day that he was leaving to go. And if you like, I can. It's a very short prayer, but
Yeah,
I
please.
can
Please
read
do.
that. Let me see if I can find it here in the book. Let's see if this is the section. Give me 1 second. I think it's right here. Okay. So as he was the morning that he left to go to the U Challenge, happened to be on July 19th. It also happened to be my birthday.
Mhm.
And so sending your son away for 5.5 months to a very tough place and knowing that you're not going to be able to see him was difficult as a birthday thing. But as he was leaving, before he left, I wrote this. I'll share it with you. I hope the people listening won't mind if they're not, if they
They
have
won't mind at
no
all.
faith. And um, I wrote, Lord, I would love to be with Tony as he manages the changes in his life. I would love to hold his hand and whisper words of comfort to him. I would love to change the situation and bring to him new happiness, confidence, and strength. This I know he must do on his own. I would love to give him peace as he contemplates his future. I would love to wake him with new hope and inspiration every morning. I would love to know how to lead him through this very difficult time. Guide me. I would love to bless him with peace, joy, and hope. God, he needs those things so badly. You are closer, stronger, wiser than I, no doubt. You are with him, God. I ask that you be with Leanne, with Nicole, and with Cristiano. They are not without pain. Selfishly, I ask that you be with me today and every day. I know you are with him and will hold him and protect him today, tomorrow, and forever. I trust in you. I must trust in you. Amen. That was not hard to share, but part of the
Personal.
honest, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Interested to know, did you ever struggle with any sort of imposter syndrome? Like, am I capable of writing a memoir? Is it a story that people want to read?
Yeah. I have suffered with imposter syndrome my entire life. Early on, I had difficulty in school. Uh, and so anytime that I have tried to, and I have led groups, done leadership projects, I've doubted myself every single time. Who am I anyhow? As a musician, was a musician for a number of years. Graduated from college with a performance degree in music. And I've often questioned myself being an imposter in music. Um, but with the book, definitely, who am I to publish a book and expect anybody might actually buy it,
Mm,
pick it up, read it, and find that my words will either motivate them, inspire them, whatever. So yeah, I've suffered, and even in business, my real estate business, when I went into real estate, I can remember the words from my mom. And she had no ill intent, but I remember sitting at the kitchen table with her and telling her, I'm going into real estate. I'm going to do this." And she said, "But Jim, you can't do that. Uh, you don't know anything about that. How can you possibly do it?" And so she didn't do it with ill intent. She just knew what I was comfortable doing and in working in the retail music business that our family had. So I think imposter syndrome is something a lot of us face, and I certainly did with this book. And even now, as I continue this mission to work to tell others about the National Guard Youth Foundation and how important it is to our country, how badly we need it, how badly kids need this. Who am I to tell people? But um, I'm guided. I'm guided by someone. I remember a John Gordon book. He said, um, "Look, look in, look out, look up," and I think that's what I've done. I look in, I look out, and I look up, and that's where I try to get my strength to do whatever it is that I do.
and just follow your calling.
Yeah.
That's brave. That's a brave path. It is.
Somebody's got to do it, Aaron.
Somebody's got to do it. And you know what?
Yeah.
This is a different kind of youth. It's a
Yeah.
different kind of youth being born into a different kind of world. So I don't disagree with you, Jim, that programs like this, like discipline, is something that is just seriously lacking amongst us, and not just this current youth, not just this young generation, but in general at this
Yeah.
point, right? I think that we have been so trained to have every need that we have met, sometimes within minutes. I mean, you can order from Amazon and have it delivered on your doorstep that same day within hours. And
Sure.
so I think that programs like this that teach us discipline as human beings, how to discipline ourselves and how to expect
Yeah.
more from ourselves, um, are going to become incredibly important.
Yeah. And what's so important about this program is that it's funded in a way 75% by the federal government, 25% from state. There's no cost to
Mm,
go to the school. And so the only cost is getting your child to the facility. I
mm,
can remember the first day when I took my son to drop him off at the school, there was a line of people that also had their kids. And as I looked around, I thought, gosh, I can't believe I'm here with these kids. I mean, and there were kids that were they were challenging looking, right? I mean, you could just
rough.
tell by looking at them. Yeah, they had been through a lot, and their parents had been through a lot. And the cars that rolled into the parking lot were cars that you wonder how they even made it there because they
Mm-hmm.
were, of a different class, I guess, of people that didn't have what I had. And I thought, how can I be here? But what I saw as he was going through the schools, how it didn't matter anymore. All the boys that were there, basically shave their heads, down to like when you go into they all look alike. And when I would look at pictures that they would put on the internet to keep parents up to date, I would look at all these kids and I go, oh, there he is. No, that's not him. Oh, no, that's not. And so uh, the program is so important because you don't have a chance to fail. They do everything they can to teach you well. And when you go to school, when it's school time, it is school time.
Mm-hmm.
It's real simple. You
Mm-hmm.
do what is asked. You're going to learn. You're going to get credits back for school. If you decide to return, you'll be able to get your GED if that's what you choose to do. But you're not going to fail. And their motto is it's a school of second chances. You're not going to fail here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important. And I know there's even guidance counselors, for example, that don't know of the school. My guidance counselor at our school said nothing to us. I found out from my secretary, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so what if I wouldn't have found out? What if
Well,
I
so many
wouldn't?
parents don't. So many parents
That's the
don't find
point.
out. So many kids slip through the crack, which is entirely what your entire purpose, right? Because
Yeah,
the school counselors have 150 students that they have purview over, 200
exactly.
students that they have purview over. I mean, the system is obviously very clearly broken. It is
Well,
it's a military school though, right? Is it a Marine
no, it's
branch school?
quasi-military. It's run with military style discipline.
Okay.
No one has to go into the military when they're
Mm,
done. No one's expected to go
mm,
into the military. It's just run with that principle because there's no room for dissent from anybody. These
mhm.
are the rules you're going to obey.
Well, and it sounds like there's no distraction too,
There's none.
which I mean when we were kids, Jim, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have I mean, heck, I think I had four channels on my TV and we had to play with the bunny ears to make sure that those even came in, right? So
Me
we didn't
too.
have all these distractions. You just did what was expected of you. That was just part
Yeah.
of your routine. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's a different generation of kids. They're up against different challenges. And so I'm
Yeah.
sure that having all those distractions removed is probably really beneficial, really
Oh,
for
it
anybody.
definitely it was, it's so beneficial that my daughter, my oldest child, who is actually 6 years older than
Mm.
Tony. They're 6 and 6, my kids. Um, she left her job in the public school system and ended up teaching at the Oregon Youth Challenge. She took a huge decrease in pay in order to be able to go to the Youth Challenge and teach there.
Bless
And
her
that,
heart to do something
and
she believed in.
yeah, and so she taught there for, gosh, I don't remember how many years, but a number of years, maybe 6 years that she taught at the Oregon Youth Challenge. And she was changed by this as well. And what I'm hoping, Aaron, is for those people that watch, your podcasts and listen to this, that if they know of anybody that might benefit from the school, that might benefit from this book, whatever, that they reach out. There is hope for kids. So actually, you know, unbeknownst probably to you, this goes beyond just the book, right? It's a memoir, but this mission isn't done.
Right.
It's not finished. It goes beyond this.
So I'm sure you have links and resources that I can put in show notes as well, right? For
Yes,
anybody who might be interested.
absolutely. I'll do that.
Fascinating story. Can we talk a little bit about your publishing journey? How did
Yeah,
that go? When you decided to publish, what route did you take?
yeah. Well, I went with a publisher by a guy's name is Kerry Oberbrunner. He was doing publishing in Ohio, I think in Powell, Ohio, of all places. And as I searched out for who can I who can I align with that's as legit as possible for my book, I knew that I didn't want to go through trying to sell my book to a publisher, to going through all of that. I thought I'm going to self-publish. I'm going to try to get this book out as best as I can, and it will sell and get in the hands of people on its own merits. Right or wrong, I'm not sure. But Carrie Oberbrunner has a company called Author Elite Academy.
Okay.
And in that academy, there is a complete system from A to Z. Here's what you need to do first. Here's what you need to do last. Here's how the book cover is designed. Here's who you can get for an editor. Here's a writing coach if you need one. Everything was in this particular company's file, I guess, in what they did. And so it was basically um, training in a box, so to speak. So
Mm,
everything was there. And it was a great company to work with. And the people that I met that also went through the same thing were great people. So I also used the help of a writing coach in Bend when I was in Bend, Oregon. And she was very helpful. Her name is Lyndon Gross, and Lyndon has a company that I can't even remember the name of the company, but you can find Lyndon Gross for
yeah,
sure.
it sounds like a pretty unique
Yeah,
name.
she's a writer, an editor, a book consultant. She does the whole thing, but she helped me along the way. Just want to tell you about the first meeting that I had with her for all those that might be thinking of writing a book. I had started and I had written 3 chapters of the book. And then I met with her. I thought, this is a little harder than I thought it might be. So I employed her, went to her home, went to her office, and I told her, I says, well, listen, I'm really excited about this project. I think I need your help, but I've already written 3 chapters. I'm not sure how many it's going to take to, say what I want to say, but here's the 3 chapters. And I handed her the 3 chapters that I had on paper, and she kind of just filed through them, kind of whisked through them, not read anything, not reading them, just kind of whisked through them. She says, well, I see what you've done. Come with me for a second. And so we walked through her living room, out through the front hallway, out to the front of her house. It happened to be trash pickup day in Bend. She had her trash or garbage out front, and she took it and she threw it in the garbage. And she said, we're not going to start with this. We're going to find another way to write this book, and it's going to be completely different. So it's gone. Get it out of your mind, and I'm going to
Start
teach you.
over.
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't have a backup, I hadn't saved it, and so I started with her uh, with scraps. And the way she asked me to write for her was to do it by writing thoughts on paper,
Hmm.
anything that I thought of. Um, so I would write, I would be thinking about a particular thing, the prayer, for example. I remember the prayer. And so I went and found it and I wrote it down. And when it was all done together, we took all the pieces we put them together, and we put the book together.
Yep. Lean on the help. There's good help out there.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
impressed that
yeah.
you chose to still hire her after she threw your 3-chapter manuscript to the trash.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't punch her in the nose or something, because
Right?
or that I did, a dumpster dive or something, because that was my work. My work was gone. So yeah, that was a little
Well,
difficult.
it worked out. She
Yeah, it did.
she she pulled through, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Jim, what advice would you give to somebody who's wanting to write a story about something so close and personal to their heart?
Tell the truth, speak from the heart,
Mm.
and yeah, just be honest. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story in them. And if you can't find the way to bring it out, ask for help, for people that can dig deep and find those things that need to be on paper that you just can't do. And don't worry about the imposter syndrome. Just do it. And what I found is there's so many people that have benefited from this book. And if that's what you're looking for, fantastic. If you're just looking for, a living history of something that you've gone through, um, get it down. The one thing I wish my brother, I have an older brother, 9 years older than me, and he lived at a completely different time than me with family. And so there's so many things that I missed out on that he remembers and that he talks about. I wish he'd put it on paper. I wish he'd put it
Hmm.
in a book, because they're going to be
Hmm.
lost. They're things that I wasn't around to know. So, you know, I think find the encouragement get the encouragement of a leader, somebody that will give you the discipline that you need, because it's discipline. Uh,
Hmm.
write every day. Try to put down just 200, 500 words every day, and do it in the sloppy notes like my teacher taught me. Just write those thoughts down, and don't worry about where they're going to fit in the
Right.
book. We're
That's
going to
right.
figure that out.
There are
Sure.
professionals.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, just be honest. Just be honest with yourself and with those people that deserve your honesty if they read your book or your memoir.
Good. Sage advice. Um, what if you had to pick one thing that you want people to take away from the challenge, what would it be?
There's hope for all kids. There is little to no reason for any child to be lost, to drop out of school, to be hopeless, to be sad, to be in circumstances that they feel they can't escape. Because there is likely a place near you, because the U Challenge has areas that they're not, it's not funded in particular places, but find a place, even if it's not the U Challenge, although the U Challenge is a fine place. Find it, because there's hope for every kid, and no reason for us to have millions of kids that drop out of school and end up on the streets, addicted to drugs, being homeless. Uh, there's no reason. So if you take anything, just take from that, and in your own way, I would say just lead with love and consistency as best as you can.
Mm, beautiful. Where can people find you? Where can we learn more about you?
You can go to my website. It's jimmazziotti.com. Kind of a messy website, could be much better, but you'll be able to find information about my book and about the challenge. And people can just reach out to me, and you can do that from jimmazziotti.com, and reach out to me, text me, call me, however. I'd love to talk to you if you're wondering about, is there a youth challenge uh, school in my state, in my area? If I don't know, I'll find out, and I'll put you in touch with people that can help you. Um, so I'm pretty easy to find. I'm in McKinney, Texas. I'm the just one of a couple Mazziottis in McKinney, Texas. My kids are here too, so they're Mazziottis. Um,
Find
but
one.
yeah,
They'll get you to the right
yeah,
place.
find one. Yeah, we're all the same bunch, right? Yeah.
Great. Anything new on the horizon for you, Jim?
No, just I want to reach more people by doing whatever I might on local newscasts that are done, on podcasts like yours. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and doing everything I can to just get this message out because I have the time to do it. And if I need to travel, I have the ability to travel and do do the work of the youth challenge.
Well, the pleasure is all mine, Jim. What an empowering conversation. I have a feeling that there's a lot of people out there that are desperate for an alternative
Yeah,
to the head banging against the same wall again and again. So I'm really, really looking forward to putting this message out. Thank you so much
yeah.
for giving me your time today.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Take care.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode of For Love of Memoir. Thanks for listening. If something in this conversation moved you, I'd be so grateful if you'd follow the show, leave a comment, or share it with someone you care about. Those small actions tell the algorithm that our content matters so we can reach more memoir lovers like you. It's a free and simple way to support the show and the authors we feature. You can find links to today's guest and their book in the show notes. Until next time, take care and keep writing your story.